It's Ash from Super Videos back for another video. This is going to be my death predictions for Season 8 of The Walking Dead. So there's actually a lot of characters in the show right now, a lot of both major and minor characters. I tried to include as many of these characters in this prediction as I could. So let's jump right into this. The first character is Rick. So obviously I think Rick is definitely safe in Season 8, not only because of the comic material and that he has a lot of comic material left for him and a lot of arcs in the future are dependent on Rick, but also because Rick is the main protagonist of the show, and if he dies, the show just wouldn't work, at least not yet. So that's why I think Rick is safe in Season 8. Next is Carl. Just like Rick, I think for Carl, because of the amount of story that he has in the comic book, obviously it's not as much as Rick, and he's not so much of a main part of the story in the comics as Rick is, but still I think Carl is most likely safe for Season 8. Next is Judith. I don't really know what they're doing with Judith. I think since they've kept her alive up to this point, she is most likely going to be safe in Season 8 as well. If they decide to kill her off though in Season 8, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think that we can probably assume she's safe. Next is Michonne. Because of her development and having developed a romantic relationship with Rick and having replaced Andrea from the comic book, I feel Michonne is most likely safe as well, and she's probably gonna live way after All Out War, which is Season 8. Next is DARYL. Now for DARYL, there is a chance that we may see DARYL die, because I think DARYL is a very big character and he's one of the fan favorites, and if they want to kill DARYL off at some point, All Out War would be the perfect opportunity. I think if they're gonna kill DARYL off, they have to kill him off in some sort of big story arc, and this would be the big story arc that could potentially be the best way to kill DARYL. So I think that coming up in Season 8, DARYL is not as safe as he's been previously. I think they may actually kill him off in All Out War. Next is Maggie. She's definitely safe as well. One, because she has some good arc coming up from the comic book, but also because she's carrying the baby, she's carrying the future. I don't think they're gonna kill her off anytime in Season 8. And the other reason is because her entire family, including Glenn, just died recently. So they're not gonna just eliminate the whole family just yet. And obviously Maggie's an important character in the comic book, so she's most likely safe in Season 8. Next, we have Carol. Now for Carol, there's definitely a chance that we may see her die. Carol is a soldier. She's very badass. So if she's gonna go in an epic way, All Out War would definitely be the arc to kill her, because it's war, you know, everything is set up to have Carol killed. But that being said, there is some sort of condition there for them to kill Carol off, and I'll get to that next. So that is Morgan. So again, just like Carol, I think Morgan has the possibility to die in Season 8, not just because of his development and everything, and you know, because just like Carol, he is a soldier as well in a way, and you know, this would be the perfect opportunity to kill him. But also for comic readers, you know what happens at the end of All Out War in the comics, and for that to work and play out the way it did in the comics, I feel like Morgan's death would go a long way to contribute to that. So I think we may actually see Morgan die in Season 8 in All Out War, causing Rick to do something at the end. It's not necessarily what he would do if it was up to him, or if things didn't influence him. If you read the comics, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But just going back to Carol, I think we can't have both Morgan and Carol killed off in Season 8. Of course we can, because it's All Out War and we're gonna see some major deaths, but I think that because of how kind of similar their stories are, we may not see both of them die in the same season. So if they want to kill Carol, they shouldn't kill Morgan. If they're going to kill Morgan, they shouldn't kill Carol. And in my opinion, Morgan is more likely to die in Season 8 than Carol is. Next is Rosita. I think she is also another character that is at risk of getting killed in season 8, but I feel because they set her up and because they ended up killing Sasha instead of Rosita, she may actually live longer and she may actually get her comic death, which is obviously not during the war. So I think they're gonna go the same route with Rosita as her fate in the comics and have her die in the same way. So I think there is a chance she may die, but I think she's mostly safe. Next is Eugene. For Eugene, I think he is an important character in a sense that he's the guy that may actually help Rick during the war because he's working in the inside. At the moment, obviously, he is with Negan, at least to our knowledge, but I think coming up in season 8, he may actually be a great person to have on the inside to bring intel to Rick. So I think he's probably safe as well. Next is Aaron. For Aaron, it's difficult to say. He may die, but there's a chance that they may actually keep him alive a bit longer as well. For Eric, I think he has a chance of dying. Obviously, Eric has been doing more and more in recent episodes, and we haven't seen him a lot, but he's begun to kind of contribute more and go out with the group and everything, and that's showing that, you know, they're developing him. And in The Walking Dead, when they develop a character like that, it's definitely a sign that the character may actually die. So that's why I think Eric has a major chance of dying in season 8. And because he is obviously a minor character, and if they're gonna kill off a lot of minor characters in season 8 because of the war and everything, Eric is definitely one of those characters they can kill off. Next is Francine. Just like Eric, I think Francine is another minor character that they can actually kill off in season 8 and make the war seem like it has some casualties at least. So Francine is definitely one of those characters that may end up dying. So next we have Scott. Again, just like Francine, he may actually die as well. Although I don't think that they're gonna kill off all of these characters. I think they have a chance at dying. Maybe from these minor characters that I'm saying may die, maybe only 2 or 3 of them will die in the entire season. But I'm just saying that these minor characters are at risk of dying. So Scott is definitely one of them. For Father Gabriel, there's definitely been a lot of development for Father Gabriel in season 7, mostly in the second half. But I think that there is definitely a chance that Father Gabriel may be like one of those, not minor deaths, but somewhere between a major and a minor character death. So we may actually see him die, but it's more likely that he's gonna survive because I feel like there's still more for him and his character development, and they can take his character development and his story to a more deep place. So I think because of that, he's probably safe, but they can definitely kill him off if they want to. Next is Heath. Now Heath is an unknown. We don't even know where he is, where he went. We don't even know if he's gonna come back in season 8. So yeah, we just can't say if he's gonna survive or not, because I don't even think that he's gonna come back in season 8. Maybe in the second half, maybe later on in the last few episodes of the season. But I think he's probably gonna be safe, because even if he does come back in season 8, they're not just gonna bring him back and kill him off. So I think he's definitely safe. Next is Tara. Is one of those characters that is very likely to die. For Tara, I think because she's not really attached to anyone and because she's not in the comic book, they can do anything with her, and I think she's definitely at risk of dying. Now, they can definitely keep her alive for longer and maybe even past the war because she's coming from the governor story arc, and they may end up wanting to keep her around because they may want to keep someone from that arc. So because of that, they may end up keeping her, but in my opinion, she is definitely at risk of dying. Next is Tobin. Just like the other minor Alexandrians, I think Tobin is another character that is at risk of dying. Enid, I think she's probably safe, obviously because she seems to have replaced Sophia from the comic book, or at least adapted some major arcs from Sophia from the comics. I feel like she's most likely safe. Next is Gregory. For Gregory, if they end up following his comic arc, he's probably gonna live past the war. I think he lives past the war in the comics. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he does. So because of that, I think Gregory is most likely going to survive the war. they may remix the story and kill him off earlier, but because there's going to be a lot of, minor deaths and maybe some major deaths because of the war, they may not remix the story and have deaths that don't need to be there. And they may not remix it so that deaths that happen after the war happen during the war, because that may just make it so that it feels like everyone is just dying. So he's probably safe. Next is Jesus, definitely safe. He's a fan favorite. Not as much as the others, but definitely a fan favorite. So because of that, I don't think they're going to kill him off anytime soon. Next is Dr. Carson. For Dr. Carson, I think he's safe. Negan killed his other doctor, so right now he only has Dr. Carson. So he's not going to kill Dr. Carson. And for the survivors, they're not going to kill Dr. Carson either. Not because he's a doctor, but because he's a good guy. He was at the hilltop. They know about him. Maggie knows about him. And again, just to go back to him being a doctor, Maggie needs him when the baby comes. So from both sides, I think he has some sort of safety net. So it's most likely safe. For Cal from the hilltop, I think he's one of those characters that may die from the hilltop. I think the type of character he is, being the guard at the hilltop and everything, he definitely has the elements that make him a good candidate for someone to die. So he's probably gonna die. Next is Eduardo. Just like Cal, he is at risk as well. But I don't think that they're both gonna die. I think either Cal or Eduardo is gonna die. Next is King Ezekiel. I definitely believe King Ezekiel is safe because obviously he has some comic arc remaining even after the war, so he's most likely safe. Next is Shiva. As much as I love Shiva, I want to see the tiger. I think they may actually keep her comic death because obviously Shiva is CGI and CGI costs a lot, so they're probably gonna do some crazy stunts and some crazy action. They may not have the budget to have a lot of CGI as well, so they may actually have Shiva die as well, maybe even early on during the season. So yeah, I think Shiva is probably at risk of dying as well. Next is Jerry. For Jerry, he's definitely at risk, but I don't want him to die. I definitely think that Jerry is one of those fan favorite characters where he needs to survive past the war. And he's definitely a character that has the potential to be a good and lovable character, even more than he is right now, later on. So I definitely think that they shouldn't kill him off. He is at risk, but I definitely think that they shouldn't kill him off. Next is Daniel, again from the kingdom. I think that he is one of those members of the kingdom that has a chance of dying. Next is Diane, again just like Danielle, she is at risk of dying as well. Cindy from Oceanside, we don't even know if the Oceanside is going to come back into the play and take part in the war or not, but I think if they decide to bring Oceanside back and Cindy is there in the front lines fighting, she's probably one of those that is going to survive. I think they set up her character just enough so that we know and feel attached to her, but not enough to kill her off. So I think she's safe. For Netanya, I think she's definitely at risk. Now, Netanya's death may actually be a great way to push the other Oceanside members to want to take part in the war. So I think she's definitely one of those characters that is very likely to die. Next is Beatrice. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. She's one of those that is at risk of dying as well. Kathy, again, just like Beatrice, she's definitely at risk as well. But I don't think they're gonna kill both of them. I think they're either gonna kill Kathy or Beatrice, not both of them. So yeah, next is Rachel. She's probably safe. Now for Jadis, it's a tough one to call because it definitely felt like they're gonna kill her off in the finale of season 7. They didn't do that. So I think because she made it to All Out War and because it seems like she's going to have a bigger part in season 8, I don't think it's 100% she's gonna die, but there is a chance that they're gonna kill her off. Now, near the end of the war, they're definitely gonna have to do something with Jadis, either kill her off or something. Next is Sherry. Just like Heath, for Sherry, she's gone. We don't know where she is. We don't even know if she's gonna return. So we can't really predict if she's gonna die or not. Next is Lara. I think Lara is one of the saviors that they can kill off in season 8. Jared, definitely I really thought that they're gonna kill Jared in the finale of season 7. They didn't do that. So I think that the next time we see Jared, he's probably gonna die. And putting my money on Morgan being the one to kill him with the bow staff. But I think he's definitely gonna die in season 8. Next is Dwight. I think Dwight is most likely safe because it seems like they're sticking with Dwight's comic story arc. So if they're doing that, then he's probably gonna live way after the war, so he's probably safe. Next is Arat. I think for Arat, difficult one to call because the character Arat is supposed to be from the comics is still alive. So if they're gonna stick to that, then she's probably gonna be safe. But if they're gonna do something where they're remixing the story, she may actually die. For Gavin, Gavin is another one of those saviors where it's just difficult to call because they seemed to make us kind of understand where Gavin is coming from a little bit. So because of that, they may actually keep him around for, you know, the arc after the war. So there is a chance that he may actually survive. Next is Simon. I think for Simon, he's definitely one of the main saviors that we are gonna see die in season 8. I think because they're most likely not gonna kill off Negan, Simon may be a good replacement as a way to kill off someone from the savior side and have the story kind of end. So I think Simon is most likely going to die in season 8. And the last person is Negan, who I just basically explained, will probably survive past season 8 if they're gonna stick with his comic arc, which is probably what they're gonna do. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll be back for another video.